I'm gonna let this play out because I want to be able to get my viewers up and running here again and kind of get them caught up to speed to what's been going on. So, go ahead and take this out. So, Peter, if you want to say anything, go right ahead. Just, kind of keep them entertained for a moment while I get this charged.
I don't have anything. You're just putting me on the spot, Justin.
I know. I know I'm doing it on the spot. It's just I'm just looking for the charger so I can keep this going. So.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. There's really no one on right now, so. Oh, monkey, I need this. Stop. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in, and then we just gotta wait on Atticus to get in, and then we'll get started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, just in case if anyone else is coming in, do apologize about last night. We actually had to take I actually had to take the live stream to Instagram because my network provider is a piece of crap. And let me double check this. Nice. Won't let him join the chat. Hold on. Peter, can you send him the link real quick? Again?
How do I do that?
The link that I provided, just copy it and just send it to Atticus.
Okay. Alright, Atticus, right. Done.
Alright, cool. And technically, I'm in my work clothes, so shit. Probably should have got these swapped out. Just in case, though, I'm gonna just copy it.
It won't. Apparently, it won't let him join for some reason.
Okay. Hey, Anna. Holy shit. All right, I'm gonna give it a try. Hold on. I mean, I can try Discord on here. I mean, I'm not really a Discord guy on the computer, but I guess maybe I can just try it there, and we'll just hop to there. Let me just double check here. Just let Atticus know I'm gonna try Discord on the computer and see if it works. Ah, shit. Hey, Gage, how you doing, man? Hope I did not disturb you.
By the way, Justin, I'm restarting my computer, so if it turns out that Discord's the way to go, I'll just wait for me to join on.
Okay, that's fine, man. I gotta get everyone booted up to speed anyway. Shoot. Okay, I gotta get my authentication code. 826232. Almost done with the commission on the first photo. Thank you, Anna, by the way. I do appreciate that. Okay, yeah, I am on Discord right now.
Alright.
So we'll just hop over to there instead.
Okay.
Cool. I'll just meet you over there. Atticus, in case you see this, we'll just hop over to Discord, or I'll just message you. Just one sec. Cool. Let's see. Okay, voice connected. There we go.
For some odd reason, like, Messenger won't be like, are you kidding? I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I don't know either. Facebook is getting on my nerves too, but I think this actually works a lot better, even though it's a little bit complicated to flip over the voice channels like in via computer. But it's the irony is it's technically a lot bit easier because the audio seems to be flowing a lot better through. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So we got this going on.
Yep. Let me go ahead and share the link. We'll be good to go.
All right. So like we're not shooting right now, right?
I mean, it's live right now on YouTube. This is so complicated. Shit. Okay. All right, so just in case if you guys,
pretty complicated.
Yeah. So I'm going to be broadcasting this from YouTube. So if you guys can hear me from YouTube,
if you're trying to say something, I can't hear you. Oh, he's muted.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to broadcast this. I know I'm muted. I'm lagging on the server here a little bit. So I'm going to try to get this across point and point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to message Peter and I'm going to message Atticus and see if they can broadcast into YouTube, if they can actually hear what I can say. That way it makes it a lot easier. So we're going to try to do this. Okay. Okay, I'm going to turn that off. Now, what about now?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Now, if it lags again, what I'll just do, I'll just provide a link to the stream so you can just hear me from there. That way, it's a lot easier. In case if it lags again. So, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're back here again under some complex and some unfortunate circumstances because, hold on. Yeah, because of, well, it's not really YouTube's fault this time that I have to say. It's my internet provider, and now, therefore, I have to go back and do this all over again because, fuck me, that's why. So, from the last time that we got off, we were pretty much discussing the controversial events that have been going on for the year of 2020 despite the COVID outbreak, and we are on to the riots and protests during the George Floyd incident regarding the cop and the 4 others that watched and did not do anything. Atticus, the death metaler, and Peter, or the random gangster, had given their thoughts and their own observations on the said incident. And we kind of came together and we discussed that maybe there are better ways to go about things other than riots and violent protests, that is. I know peaceful protests are a good solution for that. And we were also discussing kind of our things that we have also observed outside of areas of social media and also from things that we have been seeing with video, footage, documentaries, every single piece that we could see that's kind of given us that aspect and understanding to the situation that is at hand. So that being said, I want to kind of throw this back over to Atticus, and I want him to kind of recap a little bit of what he kind of experienced over this. So Atticus, you got the floor on this one here.
Okie dokie, swag and smoky.
Okay, so let's just restart this again, and hopefully that we don't have any fuck ups. So basically, my whole thoughts onto this whole thing when I first saw the video on the whole George Floyd thing, I honestly was just disgusted. I was fucking just appalled. And I mean, this was like I just have no words to describe it. It was just fucking terrible. You have some guy that's like being strangled to death for 9 minutes, not doing anything. They're like, oh, he's gonna do some shit, and I'm like, you completely have him on the ground, cuffed. What more do you need to do? Like, what more do you fucking need to do? And the other 3 guys didn't do nothing. They just like, allowed it to happen. And you fucking, and so like I was like, oh god, here we go. And what next thing you know, you have like, a ride in Minneapolis. I'm going, oh geez, here we go again. But I'm like, this time it's actually legit. And then next thing you know, around the weekend, I'm like, oh shit, this is going all across the nation. I am bewildered. I am shocked. I'm like, this has completely dethroned the Los Angeles riots of 1992. And this is really, ironic and funny because my recent Death Metal Historian episode was on the Los Angeles riots, and this was like, a passion project for me. And the next thing you know, a month after I made that video, this shit happens. And it's like, wow. Just fucking wow. So, I am glad that not only did Derek Cocken, I know it sounds immature for me to say this, but like at least not only did he get charged, arrested, but now has his charge from 3rd degree to 2nd degree, and then the other 3 have been charged and arrested. I'm like, this is good. Now we have like, lawmakers making some just lawing this shit up, and it's just like, that's the way to do it, man. That's the way to do it. But personally for me, I don't think that the riots are going to die down due to this one situation because, like, let's face it, there's a lot of other stuff going on in this country that needs a lot of fixing. So it's basically like if they keep on doing this until every demand is set, like free healthcare, free education, equal pay, just taxing the shit out of the billionaires. That's pretty much what I think on what these riots is all about.
Gotcha. And with all that said in, is that it's also because of the fact that this isn't the first time, obviously, we've had this incident before, but like, let us say that, because there is good news that did come about. I believe the officer got charged with, I think, either 1st degree or now 2nd degree murder, from what I've also observed, according from multiple stories. Is that true? Is it 2nd degree murder that he's being charged with?
I just explained it. Yeah, he's just been charged with 2nd degree.
2nd degree, okay. So, being that the case, I mean, and hopefully this might be able to at least give some, some ease to concerns to people about what things are going on. However, though, just because when a situation like that occurs, or when a conclusion or some sort of, what's the proper word for like relief? More like a substantial resolution. When a substantial resolution finally comes into fruition, according to the person's fate, according to the crimes that they've committed, sometimes it doesn't seem to ease everyone's minds, and it doesn't seem to make things go away, and people are just going to go out of their way to do selfish things, and of course the riots, and of course the protests. Now, to some degree, like, I don't support rioting, I don't support angry and violent protests, but I am going to at least say to some degree, maybe for those who feel angry and those who feel like, there's no justice out there, I can understand to a degree, because now, let's say we do get complete justice for George Floyd, but what's it going to take for there to be a complete change? There has to be a complete change in order for things to get fully better, and we haven't really seen the full change of that, and the fact that we're already still facing a pandemic crisis as there is, and now the cases have spiked up to 21,000 cases. Things have just been spiraling out of control. And, we really can't expect a lot of good things to be happening out of this unless we find a way to come up with a peaceful solution. As I explained on a stream yesterday, like I said with Controller Eyes, I wasn't a part of the stream. I was actually one of the viewers and people that were commenting, kind of giving my own outlook and observations to things that were coming in through. But they were all talking in peacefully, and they were kind of describing how we needed more allies and not enemies. And it's not like, again, as I said, not allies as in a certain group of people of color or from a certain group of anywhere, but from every single person. It doesn't matter what color or your race or what religion, ethnicity, sex, religion, nada. The point is, it has to be more of a unified area of people, and not just from individuals, but from people working from other jobs, people like artists, people like novelists, people that create, people that do all sorts of things. So I want to hand the floor over to Peter right here because I do need to do one quick little errand downstairs. But Peter, I'm going to let you have the floor in here, and I want you to discuss your observations and give your own aspect of it. And don't be afraid, because you know what? We've done this before, and like I said, Peter, floor is all yours. I'll be right back.
Jason.
Anytime.
All right. So, as we are all aware by now, everything that has happened these past couple of days have obviously come from the George Floyd murder. And when I first heard about it, that was it was really messed up. And I didn't even want to watch the video on Atticus, because personally, I don't want to see someone cling on to a last inch of life for 7 minutes before they finally die. And I know how that ends up, and it's just wrong. And this is the latest of a string of tragedies that Black people have had to deal with. And these protests, these protests are there's a good reason for these protests to exist. And also, before I continue going forward, I do want to apologize for a little bit of my voicings being a little incoherent. I'm just doing this off the cuff, so it might be a bit rambly and a bit messy, but hey, that's the way it goes. Anyways, when everything all went down, I had to be honest with myself and realize that this isn't okay. It's not enough to be anti-racist. It's I have to actually have a better understanding of why things are the way they are, and it's sorry. From yesterday's botched live stream today, between that time, I watched the Netflix documentary called 13th, and it showed the history of how Black oppression has permeated through American history, starting from the Civil War, and how after the South lost the Civil War, and when the 13th Amendment was established, it was meant to give freedom and make sure that slavery was not legal anymore. It was not going to be acceptable. However, there was a clause, a loophole of sorts, found in the 13th Amendment that made it so that slavery could be a suitable punishment if someone had committed a crime and was arrested for it, and as a result, Black people were once again thrust upon slavery again, with people exploiting a loophole, and it just went downhill from there. And as a result of learning about all these things, I think that the thing I want to see is a reform in the justice and legal system that would not allow anyone in a position of power, whether it be the police or like anyone in government, to keep black people as second-class citizens. I think, and also on the other side, with the protesters and the rioters, the protests are completely justified because, like, we have to go against like these things that are happening in the United States and also like all over the world in some cases, and I'm all for the protests. I'm not about the rioters and looters that cause mass destruction on properties and harming people, because I can tell that there are some people that would use something that's justified and use that as an excuse to cause these kinds of negative things to happen, all in the name of protesting against the current systems. And people, they say, oh, like, why are you concerned about all these businesses and buildings and whatever being destroyed? Like those can be rebuilt. Human lives cannot be rebuilt. That is true, but like I will agree that certain corporations like can survive through it, and like these circumstances. Sorry, these corporations, they can survive and they can rebuild, but the small businesses, the mom and pop shops, they cannot. And given that we're currently in a pandemic with COVID-19, like anyone that was working at those small businesses that have not been able to work due to the pandemic, if those small businesses were destroyed, they would not be able to work anymore because they're out of a job. And that's something that I can't be okay with. That's unacceptable to me. I feel that with everything that's being presented to us, I understand that that we have to go against all these things that cause much with how we view everything going on, like having nuance and like understanding complexities with how. So, yeah.
Okay, so I like what you touched up upon right there. I'm gonna mute on my Discord here, so that way I'm not echoing. But let me go ahead and point this out, so that way people can hear. What I do like to point out is that Peter actually did touch upon something on a fascinating part of the subject here, because when people are protesting and rioting and destroying businesses, it goes to a point that they say that this isn't really with the corporations. This is more of the mom and pop stores. When you're destroying a person's business or their property, you're attacking somebody you're attacking somebody's business over something that has nothing to do with part of the cause. You're destroying somebody's life out of anger or clout or just for the sheer frustrations of it. I'm gonna try this again. I'm just gonna try to mute down on the button there, but like I said, Peter had touched up on a good subject right there, because in terms of corporations, yes. However, though, in terms of the mom and pop stores, again, when you are destroying somebody's business or their property of business, you are destroying the very livelihood that they're living by, because this is something that they have to hold on to. It's not just that they actually have to look after. they had to pay the people that they're either renting or vacating in the property itself. So before I continue on with this, we're going to continue a little bit more on here, but I'm going to have Atticus hold the floor on this one and give a little bit more of his perspectives on what he saw. And then I'm going to come back in and share mine because I believe I have company that just came over. I'm going to get them settled in. And Atticus, if you want to continue on to any other documentaries or any other subjects you have observed, feel free. I'm going to let you have the floor on this one here.
All right. So there's another thing I also want to say because I do agree with what Peter and Jason had said. Obviously, I mean, during the Corona's time, small businesses are getting McDougaled pretty fucking hard. And then you have these riots going on, and people are like, oh, well, it's like, the thing is like, they can be rebuilt, lives cannot. And it's like, at the same time, you're kind of ruining lives as well. You also have, like, black law enforcement, people's getting shot too. And it's like, you have to be kind of consistent onto your rhetoric and stuff. I mean, when I explained on my LA riots video that the majority of the people that died during the riots were black. So, I mean, it was like before all this, the LA riots was the worst civil disturbance in American history up until now. And still, you have some people who died during this hour, during this point in American history, are black as well. And it sucks. If you want to be consistent, like, be consistent. But, I mean, there's going to be people that are going to disagree. And you know what? That's fine. That's definitely fine. But I also really want to touch up on to the other subject. How the riots quickly turn violent. Now, there is no stranger that you have cops that are, like, placing bricks for the protesters. You basically have cops shooting rubber bullets, using pepper spray and tear gas. Just to purposely agitate them. And I've seen last night at an Orlando protest, downtown, that, stuff wasn't going on. They're like, you know what, fuck it, let's just, fuck shit up. And don't get me wrong. The cops are like, the agitators. But you also have two groups of people, Antifa and, of course, white nationalists. And they obviously have their own agendas as well. Cops want to, make the protesters look bad. Then you have the Antifa twat stains. They're just deliberately fucking shit up just so they can have their own agenda. And then you have the white nationalists that are deliberately making, the Black Lives Matter movement look bad. Say like, oh, look at all these people, these savage people and stuff. Yeah. And I just have to say this. Y'all can suck my dick.
Damn.
Y'all can suck my fucking dick.
And to add a little bit to what Atticus has touched up upon in this subject, we even had people, from what I was also told, and also showed screenshots, we even had people that were trying to attack the monumental area of San Antonio of the Alamo. And I want to tell you one thing, and this kind of hits me a bit personally. That is the one area you do not want to F with, for two reasons. Number one, the monument actually stands out for something, for, again, kind of its own independence in its own way against, in the times of history, between the Battle of Mexico and Texas, for Texas independence. And number two, that place is surrounded by people armed to the teeth. So if you think that you're going to take one step over there and try to either graffiti the monumental area of the Alamo, you got another thing coming right there, buddy. But let me kind of back up a little bit here, because there is something I do want to at least recap on, and that I think it really kind of hits me a little bit, because I had this conversation with Atticus and Peter the first time when we did this stream. Playing GTA, I was talking to Peter originally, and we had this idea going on, and we wanted to do something, and, Peter gave me this good idea. It's like, why not do a stream about it? I was like, okay. But then we stumbled upon some sort of random guy that was online yesterday, and he decided to say the most stupid things, because first of all, you're in an online server with over 22 plus people on there. Who knows who could be recording you? Who knows who could be screenshotting your name? This guy decided to just go off and call everyone the N-word. Now, troll or not, we can all agree this is a stupid thing to do. And also, in addition, this guy was spouting off about how the cop was the hero and how Mark Floyd was just like the, the boo-hoo, wah-wah-wah, sort of figure in this area. That shit is not to be taken lightly, especially with what's going on right here. That stuff is not meant for things like that. There's a certain time and a place if you want to make jokes about something, but however, though, at a crisis like this is something you never joke about. Never. I don't care if it's trolling or not. It's something that you don't do. And what pissed me off even more, and I think this pisses everyone off here, is that whole George Floyd challenge that everyone's posting on Facebook. That shit boils my blood as much as the next guy. You are mocking the death of somebody that caused, from a cop that caused a lot of ruckus and a lot of situations to occur, and these people decided to just mock it. And for what reason? To what purpose? For clout? Unacceptable. What do you guys think?
I'm also not surprised that these dipshits who are doing the George Floyd challenge, they're fucking suburban kids. And it's like you are perpetuating the reason why people are having a hard time with white people. You want to have a good standing with your race? Don't do this shit.
It's just like the whole COVID-19 challenge. When everyone's licking the toilet bowl seat, ugh, I can't even say that. Ugh. But moving on, there was something else I did want to add indeed, because there was something I did touch upon. Yes, like I've said before in the stream, we have seen pretty much two sides of the versions of here. Actually, there's technically three sides to all this if you really think about it. So you have one side of people, which is pretty much your rioters and your looters. You have the other side here, which is pretty much your and I mean this very strongly, your authoritarian disciplinaries, such as the police. Now, I'm not going to put in the Army or, the National Guard, because I haven't really seen anything from the Army or the National Guard abusing that power. I have actually seen them hold a lot of restraint in terms of protesters and people verbally abusing them, so I give them a lot of, I commend them a lot for, having the patience and, the understanding not to do that. But don't forget, we still have some of the police that are with, the peaceful protesters that understand, that took the knee and decided to say, hey, you know what, we'll join you, we understand your cause, and we'll walk with you. And you know what, that's fine. That's the middle section. That's the middle side. But you have these two sides here, and on the right side, you're starting to see, and I mean this in the metaphorical sense, you're starting to see the true colors between how these cops are and how the people who are looting and rioting and just being violent with each other. And we're just seeing that how human nature and human history itself is just repeating over and over again, because we just don't seem to learn. Because on the left side of this, we're just selfish human beings that don't really care about, a cause that makes things better. We're just caring about stealing stuff, injuring, nearly murdering somebody just because of what? Of clout or of blind anger? And then on the other side, you have the cops, your authoritarian disciplinaries, that just think that you're under their thumb, you're under their boot, there's nothing you can do about it. But we know differently. Not everyone is above the law, not even those authoritarian assholes. Then you have the middle section, and this is where we're all a part of this middle area. The people that have logical sense, the people that understand, and the people that don't use racism or use this authoritarian, mindset. The fact that we come together and we try to find a way to find a solution, and we try to find people to bring together and to share our struggles and to share our passions and to share our understandings with people, that is the perfect place to be in. Not these two sides, because we don't want to be like these two sides. We don't want to keep ripping and tearing at each other, because the more we do that, the more we're just going to rip ourselves apart. And guess what? There are enemies outside the country that can take advantage of that shit too. Let's think about that.
China.
Yeah. China. Oh my gosh, Donald Trump. China.
China.
But seriously, That is the spectrum of what me, Atticus, Peter, and everyone else that believe in that good cause. We're in that middle part because we're not interested in going out and stealing. We're not interested. We're not a part of this, you know, violent revolution or this authoritarian mindset that we need to have people completely under control, because you know we don't want to be completely under control. We want to be under a free nation where everyone has the freedom and the safety and the will to be who they want to be within very good reasons. And we don't want a government that's going to treat African Americans or any other race like secondary citizens. Everyone needs to be treated equally. And again, we have turned this man's dream, the one I'm pointing at this portrait right now, we're turning this man's dream into an absolute fucking, and Lord forgive me for saying this, into a goddamn nightmare. All that hard work that he did, because he never once initiated any violent protest, he never initiated stealing, verbally abusing, or even manipulation. You know what that man did? He walked and he presented his speech. And that's enough right there. Because sometimes it only takes that one person right there to make that complete difference. And you know what? I want to actually be a man like that. But sometimes I don't feel like I am a good guy because of, you know, how the world can be, and sometimes I feel like I beat myself up for my own problems. And I'm not trying to make it about me. I'm just trying to put myself a little bit in some people's shoes. But a lot of people, we take the inspiration from Martin Luther King Jr. not because of, well, we're just going to use what he says because there you go. That carries around, I mean, that's been with me since I was a kid. Not the portrait, but like the man's actions have been carrying on to other people, not just with African Americans, but with other people too. And I guarantee you that the people in this call right now, I've taken a lot of influence from that man too. So I don't want to hear for a single moment from anyone saying that you can't use Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as your voice of reason. Bull fucking shit. I will tell you, if it was not for this guy right here, I probably wouldn't be the same exact person sitting in front of this camera talking to Atticus and talking to Peter right here in this call right here. I tell you, I would not be the loving person that I would be to other people if it wasn't for someone like that. So now that I've said my piece about this, I want to kind of get Peter and Atticus' side. So I'm going to start with you, Peter, about how you feel.
All right. You know, just to get this out of the way, I have joked about using the rides as my chance to steal some Lego sets. Like, it's a joke. I'm not actually gonna do that. That stealing's wrong. Don't do it. Yeah. But anyways, onto the more pressing subject matter. Like you said, we've all been taking influence and inspiration from Martin Luther King, even if we're not actively thinking about what he's done for us. You know, we work towards living up to his ideals, and as someone who always looks towards being a better person, myself, I will admit that I have fallen short a lot of the time. I've been afraid of supporting the Black Lives Matter movement because of how in the past it was twisted and corrupted by certain black people as an excuse to be racist towards white people. Now, I've always been against that kind of thing. Like, white people can also be victims of racism, but I've used those situations as the justification to not get behind this thing, and now I was wrong. I think now as I've gotten older, it feels right to openly support Black Lives Matter, because this is now more than ever this movement deserves to be at the forefront, and I'm glad that I'm able to grow as a person, to have the maturity to admit that I was scared of joining this kind of movement because of the twisted actions of a few individuals, and I want to do better as a person to support not only the Black community but also the Indigenous communities, here in Canada, because in Canada, people say oh, I'm so happy that we're not doing this in our country. There's no racism here. Yes, there is. Like there have been so many cases of Indigenous men and women being disrespected by the system, and these people have dealt with injustices. Like there have been Indigenous women going missing, and there have been people that have been forced into residential schools in order to assimilate them into the white Canadian culture, and there was even this serial killer from Canada who was able to murder over 49 people. A lot of these people were women, and his name was Robert Pickton. Robert Pickton was able to. He was able to. Yes, the pig farm killer. He was able to get away with murder, not because he was smart, not because he was meticulous and was able to cover his tracks, but because the police did not take these disappearances seriously. It took them. It took the presence of an unregistered firearm to discover what had happened, and even so, the justice system failed the victims because they didn't care if they were Indigenous or part of the sex trade. But anyways, the point is, I want to be able to stand with the Black community and the Indigenous community, and I want to do what I can, and to support these people, and I will admit that I might fault it, but I want to be able to pick myself back up in order to try again. And I think, and this I think that being able to have more nuance and being able to have a better understanding of the world is what will help us become better people. And for anyone who remembers my YouTube channel, some people might remember that I made a YouTube video talking about the N-word and its usages, and to some extent, I hope it's okay for me to say this, Jason.
Go ahead.
I think using the usage of nigga, I think it depends on which context you're using it in, and who you're around, and I think that you kind of have to understand where you're at and who you're with to understand if that's acceptable or not. It can be debated, but hard R, N-word, that's I'm not okay with that, especially when it's used in its intended meaning. And I want people to understand that since that video was made, I have allowed myself to open my mind to people's perspectives. I still would stand by certain points from that video, but I would not go out of my way to antagonize black people by saying nigga or nigger. Um, I'm not going to actively. I'm not going to actively antagonize people by using that, and I hope that if anyone somehow remembers that video from a small YouTube channel, that I'm not the same person that I was when I made that video. From the time since I made that video, I went from being this kid who swallowed up a lot of South Park, which I still like, by the way, to someone who can make the distinction.
Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We kind of hit a little bit of an error. Hold on one second. Sorry about that, Peter. I think we stumbled onto an error, which is okay. Let me just go ahead and get us back in.
All right.
Sorry.
I just.
Okay, cool. There we go.
All right. I just, as I was saying, I want to be able to, as I was saying, I want to be able to, be acknowledged that I can grow from where I was as a teenager, and I want to continue growing in order to be a better supporter for the Black community and the indigenous peoples and everything in between.
Gotcha. All right, man. So before I hand this off to Atticus, I wanted to just put a little quick input, and then I'll get right into Atticus, because I know he's been waiting very patiently with this too as well. For me, I didn't really understand much about the Black Lives Matter movement. It's only because with certain areas of controversy, when things have been going on, the whole All Lives Matter thing is that it's the perspective I had of that was just because I cared about every single person, not just one particular race. But in this instances, I have a little bit more of a better understanding with the Black Lives Matter movement since this incident has occurred. I got into arguments with people about this before, but I can understand their perspective on it, and it's come more clear to me. That's the kind of understanding that I think we should always have a little bit more of, and we should have a better understanding and have a little bit more of an open mind to it. So I'm going to give this to Atticus right here, because we're going to end this off here very soon, but I want to kind of I want Atticus to have his say on the matter here. So Atticus, you have the floor.
All right, so it's no stranger that I've made a couple videos on Black Lives Matter and stuff, and obviously I had some criticisms over it because of people like Sensei Aneurysm and Gazi Kotso and all these other people, and that was what I felt about with Black Lives Matter, because it was you had all these radical black people that are a part of this movement that's actually supposed to, stop institutional racism, but then they add in their extreme prejudice, and it's just it's like you have these people like Gazi Kotso wanting to just, go to white people and say, reparations and stuff, and it's my feelings is yeah, you guys are kind of bigoted as well. It's it's the same thing when it comes to the alt-right as well and stuff.
Doesn't that guy kind of refer to the white people's like Becky or something like that, like little Becky?
Quebec.
Oh, like that?
Or are you talking about Charlottesville?
Yeah, I think it was that, or because there was another video he made like like don't tip white people and all that, and it's like, why should I give?
Oh yeah, that place. But like that was like my mind. That was what I thought of Black Lives Matter. Now obviously, like it was for a good cause, obviously, because I mean the police has had a history of just brutalizing black communities since after abolition and when the country started like modernize in the 20th century, and you still had the police force just doing all this shit, and it's just like in a situation, it's like, yeah, I mean the movement is I can now completely understand now. Now this isn't me being all like, I'm sorry, I'm white, I'm sorry, I'm ill, but it's just like I know I will never understand what it's like, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I'll help you out, dude. I'll do whatever I can and stuff, and that's kind of like yeah, I'll donate to all the stuff here and there, and it's just like, I mean, yeah, I always say that I have like a very diverse group of friends, but at the same time, it's like, what would happen if some of my friends who are African American, yeah, like the next day, they end up being killed or like profiled by the police for just minding their own business. And it's like, yeah, that's a pretty scary thought, being like, a black person in America. And it's like, we've abolished slavery, we did the civil rights, and you think, oh, it's going to be over. It's still, it's just perpetual, and just all the stuff that is happening right now, it's clear that everyone has had enough of this. Like, this can't keep going on. So what do they have to respond with? Yeah, we're going to basically just burn the entire country down so that you can actually do this. And there are like people that say, even when we have these laws, you still have to scream it to the top of their lungs until finally it's like, yes, I can now roam around freely. I can do this and that without, cops profiling me and stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, you have black on black crime, and a lot of people are going to, bring this as a counter argument. I can completely understand over black on black crime, but you're basically deterring, you're using it as a deterrent as well as all lives matter. It's like, yeah, all lives do matter, but at this very moment, it's like, you gotta help out your black friends, because their lives do matter at this moment. It's not because they're more important than everyone else. It's like they matter at the moment right motherfucking now, okay? It's not basically me just saying, oh, no, I'm ashamed of being white. Oh, I'm gonna give you reparations. It's like, dude, come on. Just realize that most of the friends that you've made who are African American are like walking targets for these cops. There needs to be serious, hardcore reformations. And I have seen a bunch of articles and where you legit have people, lawmakers that are gonna go heavy duty on this shit. And with this shit going on, it's like, if these 4 cops are gonna be declared not guilty, yeah, it's gonna be the fall of Rome. It's definitely gonna be the fall of fucking Rome, man.
Definitely.
So it's like, you better do this shit. I mean, the justice system is corrupt as it is, but like, people are now starting to gain attention, and it's like, yeah, we need to do something about it. We really need to do something. So, as many people will always say that, oh, Martin Luther King changed the world by peaceful protest. Well, he got assassinated by doing peaceful protests. They were rioting for 6 days. And you know what happened on the 6th day of those riots after King's death? The Civil Rights Act was passed. So, yeah, that's all I gotta say about this whole thing.
So before I end this stream, I do want to at least throw a few things out here, and I'll make this quick, and I won't bore you guys, but I will kind of give a loop of some detail with this. What Atticus says, that to anyone in general, don't be ashamed of who you are in terms of your race, in terms of who you are as a person. Who you are as a race is not something you should ever be ashamed of. Don't let things like white supremacy, white nationalists, or radical, beliefs or anything like that make you feel like you should be ashamed of who you are. Who you were born as is not of any of your control. That's the one thing that you got to remember. And this, like I said, this goes for anyone of any different color. You don't have any control of who you are as a person from the moment you're born. But what's important is the fact that you got to learn to love yourself and love others, and not hate others because of the color of their skin. And I said this before, and I'll say this again. If you hate on someone just because of the color of their skin, you are only going to project the poorest and weakest excuse of hatred that you would ever bestow upon anyone else just because of the way they look. Look, I can understand if somebody had wronged you in some way. If someone had raped, if someone had murdered someone you love, had hurt you completely, was unfaithful to you, it doesn't really matter. In some ways, I don't support hatred, but if you feel hatred for someone because of the way that they legitimately wrong you, I can understand that. But if you hate someone because just of the way they look, you are not gonna. That is not a valid reason. That is automatically an invalid reason. And here's something I really need to project out there, because this is something that pisses me off the most. And I'm not ashamed to say this as a white guy. I'm going to say this. Racism can also happen to white people too. This is something that we need to come to clear the context on. Racism happens in all forms. Not just with blacks, not just with, not just with African Americans, not just with, Japanese and Chinese, Europeans and all that. It can also happen to Americans too. Americans in all forms is what I meant to say. I'm sorry. That's the passion in me talking, and I can't really speak clearly. But racism happens in all forms. So I don't want to hear for a moment that racism against white people is not a thing. If I was born a Caucasian, that is a race. I wanted to just make that clear. Now that I've come to clear context on that and not afraid to voice my mind out about that, I just want to say to people, this is not a year that we need to go back to 1957. This is 2020. This is a modern, civilized world. Despite the fact that it's run by corporations and corrupt politics and, the government and stuff like that. This is basically a year where we need to stop thinking about how we benefit ourselves and more about helping each other, especially since we're in a pandemic crisis, by the way. We need to start thinking about the future for ourselves as a whole, not just about us separately. And I really don't want to bring this up right here, okay? And I don't care if you support Donald Trump or not, that's fine. No one here is going to be judged, okay? This is not a place where we judge people on their political beliefs, okay? You can like Donald Trump, you can hate Donald Trump, but it doesn't mean we need to hate each other. I will express my own opinion, though, that I do think that he has worded a lot of stuff poorly. On Twitter, by the way, in terms of, sending the National Guard to deal with the whole protest situation by shooting people up. My own opinion, he could have worded this a whole lot better. What I'm just going to say is that we don't need to shoot people. We don't need to kill people. We don't need to harm people. If you need to defend yourself, that's one thing. But we don't need to go out there and harm people that are peacefully protesting. We don't need to shoot rubber bullets, and we don't need to shoot off, frags at people, like point blank in the head. Because now you're just going to show every single person out there that the government is definitely not to be trusted. We've all had suspicions about how the government works, but now, like, if the government itself is sending, the police to do its own dirty work, then you definitely know the government can't be trusted. But what's important is that we come together as a civilized union with people, not just whites, not just blacks, not just any other race, but all together collectively as a human. We all bleed the same, we all struggle the same, we all breathe the same, we all feed, drink, live, and prosper and unified the same. That's what's important. So forget Nazism, forget white nationalists, forget radical ideas, forget all this authoritarian bullshit. Think about the person, look to your left, look to your right, and think. They're a person, just like you. Love that person. Give them compassion. That's what they need. None of this hatred and bullshit. So I'm going to end it off there. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. I just want to thank Atticus, and Atticus the Death Melter, and I want to thank the Random Gangster for also showing up on the stream as well. I've been around these guys, or I've been with these guys, for over the course of about 6 to 7 years. Well, actually 8 years, if you could really count it.
decade.
Yeah, a decade. And
Close to a decade, or halfway through a decade.
and these guys, just like Stoutmeister, just like Stevie, or some guy at 27, or Stevie Wolf as he goes, and so many people in that community. We have people in that community that are also. We have a diverse of people in part of our group too, and that's something that I feel very proud about. Is that we're all together and we're all sharing our ideas. We're all talking about things, and we're unified, and I love that. And that's something I'm proud of Peter here, and that's something I'm proud of Atticus for doing. That's what I'm proud of everyone for doing, and especially to my brother out there, by the way, my brother Anthony, who's in Georgia right now, because he's also a part of something along with people of different races, along with diverse amount of people. That's that's heartwarming. And it's something that puts a smile on my face because we're able to come together, and you know what, despite maybe our differences, we're really not that different after all. So anyway, I'm gonna just end it off here. I want to tell you guys, thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for listening and to understanding. And the moral of the story is that to learn, to love, to accept, and be compassionate to those around you. Don't give in to hatred. Don't give in to, just blind things. Don't trust everything the media tells you. Don't. You know what? Forget what these authoritarian cop assholes want. If you believe in your cause, you believe in it. You stay strong and courageous, but don't be aggressive. That's what I gotta say. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for all coming out here. I'm Jasper Mundo. This is the Random Gangster, and this is Atticus the Death Melter. And this has been a very, very good Wednesday night. Stay safe out there, guys, and you guys have a very good night.